The entire world is facing big challenges dealing with the effects of climate change. Biogas is a key part of the solution. It helps reduce greenhouse gas emissions by providing renewable energy through the treatment of organic waste. However, there is still a long way to go before biogas becomes a global leader in the clean energy. In today's episode, we will explore the global relevance of biogas, the urgency of scaling its production to meet climate targets, and the unique contribution Brazil plays in this transition. From the efficiency of biogas plants to international certification challenges and the growing demand for renewable energy, this conversation will leave you inspired and informed about the potential of biogas to reshape our energy future. Whether you are passionate about sustainability or simply curious about the future of energy, this episode is packed with insights you won't want to miss. So let's dive in and explore the transformative power of biogas. I am Vanice Nakano, and this is the Amplum Biogás podcast. Welcome to the Amplum Biogás podcast. Our guest is a lawyer with 10 years of experience. She studied for her MBA at London Business School before setting up a car club business. She then became involved in the business side of the Anaerobic Digestion and Bioresource Association in 2009. Recognizing the even bigger global potential, she played a crucial role in establishing the World Biogas Association, WBA, in 2016 to promote and increase the global uptake of biogas, aiming to meet the Paris climate change targets, the Global Methane Pledge, and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. In 2022, she was awarded an Officer of the Order of the British Empire for her services to the biogas industry. Today, we have the honor of hosting Charlotte Morton. Thank you very much, Charlotte, for accepting our invitation. It's truly a pleasure and privilege for us to have you here.
Well, thank you. And it's a huge pleasure to be with you today. There is such a lot of wonderful stuff being done in the biogas world in Brazil, and you're very much part of it. So I'm delighted to be here.
Thank you so much. I'd also like to take a moment to thank you, our listener, and new listeners. Your presence is what makes this podcast possible. And before we jump into our conversation with Charlotte, if you haven't done so yet, please take a second to give us a like and leave us 5 stars on your favorite platform. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means a lot and helps us continue delivering quality content for you. So let's get started. Charlotte, in our podcast, before we dive into technical topics, we like to get to know our guests a little better. I've already shared your professional background with our listeners, but now tell us, who are you beyond the biogas? Could you share a little detail or something meaningful from your daily life?
Well, I suppose there's probably 2 things. One, I find at the core of my being is an incredible love of nature. I find nature is so stunningly beautiful and so remarkable that the preservation of nature and the world, the beauty of the wild, natural world around us is really what drives me and motivates me. Otherwise, on a day-to-day basis, I keep myself happy and fit by running around after a tennis ball on the tennis court, playing tennis.
Nice. Great. Well, let's go and dive into the biogas theme now, Charlotte. First of all, could you briefly introduce the World Biogas Association to our audience, including its goals and main ongoing actions?
Sure. The World Biogas Association was set up just over 8 years ago now, primarily to ensure that the world was aware of how important it is and how exciting it would be if we could recycle all of the organic wastes that we humans generate every year. and also to facilitate delivery of that opportunity. At the time that the WBA was set up, nobody had quantified the volumes of organic waste that we were generating, the problems that they're causing, or look to assess the value that could be delivered were we able to collect those organic wastes, those that are reasonably capturable, that is, and to recycle them through anaerobic digestion or biogas into the core products of biogas, biomethane, biofertilizer, bio-CO2, and there are a raft of other complementary products that can be made as well. And what an incredibly exciting economic opportunity that it would be. So it's both an existential issue. All those organic wastes, 105 billion tons of organic wastes, are generating methane as they break down. We know that methane is 86 times more potent a greenhouse gas than CO2 in their first 20 years of life. And if we could recycle all those organic wastes, we'd deliver half of the global methane pledge. So it is really important for us. There's also, those wastes are causing a lot of pollution of our rivers and oceans, and actually that may even be a more serious issue than climate change. So it's urgent and vital that we do this. But if we think about those wastes and what they contain incredible value. So we're talking of, say, from an energy point of view, the equivalent of a third of today's fossil gas consumption. That's quite a lot of energy, as well as all the nutrients that those organic wastes contain, which are very important from a future, the production of future food production. It's also a huge economic opportunity because to deliver the industry will require the development of huge supply chains, and we estimate that it will create something like 10 to 15 million jobs all around the world, all over the place, helping to keep people living where they live today. So there are so many benefits to doing it. It's so incredibly exciting, quite apart from being an existential necessity.
Certainly, and those numbers are actually really great numbers that we aim to reach them, right? To actually put them in force. It's notable that the biogas is growing worldwide. It's also notable the urgency, like as you said, for the energy transition and ensure all the targets for global climate change we must to reach. But it seems things are not as fast as needed to attend the global climate change targets, such as Paris Agreement and the Global Methane Pledge. What are the biggest challenges to scaling biogas globally?
Well, I think there are two big challenges, I would say, above others. One is that to develop a biogas plant, you need to be able to raise finance. And to raise finance, any investor is going to want to be able to achieve an internal rate of return on their investment that is appropriate for the range of risks involved in putting that project together. Now, for developers to do that, they need a regulatory environment that will allow that to happen. So in many countries, there simply isn't an appropriate regulatory environment. So it's very difficult for developers to put together a project that will be capable of raising the funds. So first and foremost, you need to have that regulatory environment in place. And of course, what we're talking about here is a circular economy technology or process, because we're talking about the circular economy of organic wastes, waste like food waste, which need to be collected from households and businesses. So you need to have appropriate waste collection infrastructure in place. We're talking about manures and slurries and other agri-wastes, which therefore also need to be collectible from farms and agri-businesses. Commercial and industrial food and drink processing wastes, likewise. And of course, our own human sewage, we generate a lot of that. So we have to think about how are we going to have all the appropriate collection processes in place, and then you develop the biogas infrastructure. But then you've also got to work out, where does the energy that's generated, where does it go? Does it go into the transport system? Does it go into an electricity grid? Does it go into a gas grid? And similarly, you've got to think about where the fertilizer goes. You also need to make sure that it's possible for a plant to get a permit, get planning, get a permit to operate. In Europe, the average time to get a permit is something like 2 to 5 years. Well, just to get a permit for one plant, the Global Methane Pledge timeline is 2030. That's less than 5 years away. So we have to change how we do things if we're going to actually have any chance of meeting the targets that we've committed to. Well over 155 countries have committed to meeting the Global Methane Pledge, but not many of those actually have an appropriate regulatory regime in place today.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and interesting. I did not know that in Europe it took so long to have a permit for a plant to get and operate it. I thought it was just something we had in Brazil. So it's a challenge, not only for us, right? It's a challenge for you guys too. Okay. And also talking about these, the operation of a plant, that, as you said, it's not something simple. And also when it comes to efficiency, the efficiency of this plant, the challenges can be even bigger. It's not just operating it, but operating it with efficiency. How is Europe addressing the efficiency of biogas and biomethane production, and also the transport? A reduced carbon footprint for these energy sources, ensuring, for example, the low fugitive emissions, is already a key focus. And also, Charlotte, I said here Europe, but feel free to bring us any other example of any other country that has this key as a relevant theme.
Well, I think in terms of plant operation, there are a number of things. You clearly have to ensure that there are minimum health and safety standards in place to make sure that the environment is protected, that you look at the appropriate performance metrics. And as you rightly highlight, one of the performance metrics, apart from the outputs and revenues and costs, is also the ensuring that we manage methane emissions ourselves. We can't be preventing or emitting more methane than we're preventing from recycling organic waste. There's just let me mention now, I think it feels appropriate, two things that the World Biogas Association has developed, because they're about to be published, in fact. And they address the key issue that we're facing is lack of time, in fact. One is the development of a model global biogas regulatory framework. So essentially that contains all the policies, standards and regulations that a developer needs a country to have in place in order to put projects together, as I mentioned earlier. And the second thing is the International Anaerobic Digestion Certification Scheme. So the framework, as I say, that's available for any country to adapt to its local context and circumstances, and it should take enormous time that would otherwise be involved in putting such a framework in place. In the UK, for example, when I first became involved in this industry, it took 3 years to develop just the standard for biomethane to inject it into the gas grid. 3 years. Well, we don't have this time. So the framework is essentially builds on all the experience of other countries, takes the best of policy standards and regulations from other countries, and makes it available to countries that are still developing their framework. Says, here you go, here is what you need, here is something that works. All you've got to do now is adapt it to your own local context. So that should take time. The International Certification Scheme sets minimum standards for the health, safety, and environmental performance of a biogas plant, which is also critical. There are quite a few biogas plants around the world that don't meet those minimum standards and that are not performing well, and that creates a negative reputation for the industry, which is not good. And we also have to make sure that people who are working on these plants can do so safely, and all involved stakeholders. And the International Anaerobic Digestion Certification Scheme has connected to it a standardized life cycle assessment, so that any operator can demonstrate with the confidence of those that care about it that this is how much decarbonisation is being achieved, and it's assessed in a robust way with a robust methodology that's accepted by those that measure decarbonisation, and that then has the potential to be linked to carbon markets. So that should help address the key issue that I mentioned at the very beginning, that any developer needs to be able to demonstrate to an investor that they will get an internal rate of return that's high enough to meet the range of risks involved in putting a project together. So I think these two things, should be immensely helpful to help facilitate the growth of the industry. And one other thing that I would just want to highlight, that the framework also includes a new way to get a permit, a new process and methodology that should allow a permit to be achieved within 4 months. So that potentially taking a lot of time out of the whole process, which is what we're trying to achieve.
Oh, perfect. It's good to hear that, Charlotte. It's also, you also already answered my following question, that exactly about this, and how can we actually value those plants that care about the efficiency and make sure that the plant decarbonizing that fuel, that it's giving us this energy, but we must make sure that actually it's going to give us a positive result when we say that we are going to substitute from a fossil fuel, right? And also thinking about this, what comes to my mind is that we know that, for example, the GHG Protocol accepts the IREC, which is the Renewable Energy Certificates for Clean Electricity, right? I'd like to know from you, what about the biomethane as a renewable fuel? How is the acceptance of this certificate of renewable fuel, such as a biomethane, in international standards emissions reports, such as the GHG Protocol? Are there any other standards that accept the biomethane, the certificate biomethane, for the emission reports? And also, what you already introduced this theme, but I'd like to hear about a little bit more. What can the organizations and companies do to accelerate the acceptance of these origin certificates in these emissions report standards?
Well, you're probably aware that there has been quite a long-standing issue with the reporting and use of biomethane certificates under the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, which is the most significant reporting mechanism today. And previously, the biomethane certificates were recognised under the protocol, but an issue arose a few years ago when the guidance was changed, and which created a lot of uncertainty.
Okay.
So there is now has been a campaign ongoing for some time to get the previous guidance restored under the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, to restore the confidence, because what's happened is that the price of biomethane certificates has roughly halved since the guidance was removed, and that has slowed the growth of the industry down, because the industry was growing off the back of those the price of the biomethane certificates was contributing enough to attract the finance necessary. So there is a large number of organizations that are collaborating together to work with the Greenhouse Gas Protocol to campaign for the change. I've also met various directors of the protocol who've assured me, in fact, that market mechanisms such as biomethane certificates are really important to them, and they want to make sure that they can work and any issues that they see are addressed. And they've set up a structure and a process that they say will get to the point where the recognition of biomethane certificates and the guidance is restored. The issue again is a question of time and seeing what we can do with the World Resources Institute and the Greenhouse Gas Protocol to get that guidance and the confidence restored sooner rather than later. We can't wait another 2 years, for example, when we've only got less than 5 to deliver the global methane pledge. So it is work in progress. We just need to speed things up, which is one of our objectives as an association. That is part of our job, is to ensure that we can make changes that enable the industry to grow wherever possible.
Good. Important actions. It's good to hear. Good to hear that. And our listeners, don't miss out and check out the episode 18, where we discussed the GasRec certificates for biogas and biomethane with Fernando Giacchini. To listen to this suggested episode, click the link in the description. I think there we can also add a lot of good information for you about this theme. Charlotte, getting back here, we know that Brazil has a huge potential and the opportunity to lead the green energy transition. Last year, Brazil hosted the WBA Congress, which highlighted the country's key role for this industry. Charlotte, could you tell us more about Brazil's importance to the WBA, and also how the WBA can support the growth of biogas in Brazil?
Sure. Brazil is absolutely one of our priority countries. It's a large country, large population, beautiful country, and a lot of organic waste, which creates a huge opportunity for Brazil. So along with India, which also has sort of comparable or similar sort of circumstances, both have a big sugar industry, for example. We are now looking to develop a biogas roadmap for Brazil and also for India. There is a lot already happening actually in biogas for Brazil. So the work that we're proposing to do would be to complement that, working with Brazilian government or state governments. The state of Sao Paulo is particularly interested, as well as working with national biogas associations such as Biogás and CI Biogas and other relevant stakeholders to the fastest way to get an industry to grow is through building a roadmap, by which I mean you bring all the stakeholders together, get agreement on the size of the prize, how big could the industry be in Brazil, and get everybody to agree that that is a really exciting prize, we all want to make it happen. Then you understand what's going to stop it happening, what are the barriers, and what can we do to remove those barriers. If everybody can agree the changes that policies, regulations, or other changes that need to be made, they can be put into an action plan to get those changes made. Then it's about modeling the supply chain that will be required to deliver all of those plants, because you're looking at a big growth opportunity in Brazil. So that will require the development of a supply chain. And if that's modeled, then that gives investors confidence to understand that, to know that there will be a market for the products produced by the supply chain. And then, of course, you have to look at the capacity building, because it's going to need a lot of new people to come into the industry who are going to need to be trained. So again, that can all go into the plan. And once you have a plan, then you can focus on delivering it. And everybody's agreed on the direction of travel. So it really is absolutely the fastest way to get to deliver the full potential. And we're, as I say, there, as you know very well, there is already a lot happening, a lot of support happening. And just after we finished the World Biogas Association Brazil Congress, there was announcement of policy support for the sector at a national level, which was very exciting. So it's great to see that, and it's about adapting. What we're offering is to adapt the model biogas regulatory framework that I've already talked about in the International AD Certification Scheme, and to take elements from the framework that would complement what's already in Brazil and add to what's already there to ensure that developers can get the funding that they need. And also to look at adapting the International AD Certification Scheme to ensure that all plants are designed, built and operated well, and can attract the funding as well from carbon markets.
Perfect. Everything is linked, and then we have good perspectives. So for the next years, for this growing, that's good to hear too. As you said, India is also one of the important players in this sector. And something that comes into my mind is considering this potential of the biogas to play a significant role in achieving global sustainability goals. That's everything we've been talking to. What strategies are key to fostering international collaboration for the biogas development? How can we learn with Europe, which is years in front, but also with countries that we look and see, oh, we're a little bit similar. Our realities are similar to India, for example. How do you believe it's a better way for us to make this collaboration to actually happen?
Well, there's lots of ways to do it, and you're absolutely right. There's a lot to be learned from other countries and other countries' experiences and the experience of more developed markets, both their mistakes and what's worked well. So I think the model regulatory framework already integrates quite a lot of that, but there's a lot more that can be added to that. So we ourselves, you have your wonderful podcast series. We will be also developing a podcast series and some technical webinars to ensure that and best practice guides and how-to guides, both virtual and in print, so that people can learn. We can share the knowledge of people who are doing it well and share their challenges and discuss those challenges through these virtual and print opportunities by bringing people together through webinars and podcasts, and also events such as our Congress series and the events that the Biogás runs and CO Biogas run in Brazil itself. We run events in Brazil and in India and in the UK, and we have international delegations coming to those events. So it's all about creating platforms which allow people to bring together, to share their knowledge and experience, and help people coming into the industry to learn faster and not make the same mistakes as others and not have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Not reinvent the wheel. We can save time and money, right? Doing and learning from the others and the past mistakes. That's important, really important for us too.
Yeah.
And Charlotte, thinking about what we've talked already, it's something that I usually ask to people that I work with and people like you that actually are the head of great organizations such as the WBA. We know that we see the urgency for actions to limit the global change is part of our daily basis talking, right? The news shows the climate disasters are increasing, affecting both poor or rich countries. And year by year, COP after COP, this matter is not a priority yet. for the nation's governors. What could you feel from the last COP in Baku? You were there, and what did you get there? And my question is a little bit more philosophical. Like, do we, as a global society, still have time to make the necessary changes to avoid the worst?
Well, that's the key question, isn't it? And I'd love to be able to say, so I have two answers to that question. Okay. One is that, yes, we could do it if we put our minds to it. We put a man on the moon in less than 9 years. It cost a lot of money, but we did it. And the solutions are out there, and we know how to do it. The problem is ourselves. Collectively, we are unable to reach agreement at the highest levels, and even at all levels, that this is what we need to do. And that's the problem. And that's what I don't see changing. I certainly don't see that changing fast enough. And it's hugely frustrating, because I don't know what more evidence is required for everyone, for it to be blatantly obvious that we are in an absolutely dire situation and be almost beyond the last chance saloon. If we look at the situation of our rivers and oceans, for example, the levels of acidification and pollution have reached a point where the evidence is suggesting, and this isn't so much a question of opinion, it's scientific evidence, is suggesting that we reach a point of no return in about 15 years. Well, 15 years is a nanosecond.
Yeah.
And, you know, at what point are we going to say we have to do something about that? You know, it's a small number of people who are shouting about it, have been shouting about it for a very long time. And yet the people shouting, you know, quite a few people shouting about it are either in prison or have been murdered. So I mean, this sounds a terrible thing to say, but I really don't believe that we will do it, because I can't see the necessary people agreeing that we need to put the action plans in place, and those plans being in place in time to deliver it. Enough. I mean, we are doing the best that we can. You and Amplum and everybody in the biogas industry in Brazil are doing the best that you can. But we're still burning fossil fuels. The rate of funding going into the fossil fuel industry is just increasing year on year. It's something like, and this is government funding support, something like $700 trillion last year or the year before. $700 trillion going in some kind of support to the fossil fuel industry, whether that's tax breaks or subsidies or whatever form it is. That's UN data, it's not my data. I mean, are we mad? We're bringing it on ourselves. And it's going to be a tragedy. It's a tragedy. Absolute tragedy.
Yeah. And people are suffering, right? Are already suffering.
Yeah. I mean, look at the fires in Los Angeles that we're seeing this week.
Exactly.
It's not the first time. Look at the fires we saw last year in Greece.
Yeah.
Look at I mean, you know, we're seeing tipping points everywhere. We're seeing the ice caps melting at an astonishing rate. We're seeing increased storms, increased everything, increased temperatures. We're already at 1.5 degrees that was supposed to be the level we were trying to cap.
Yeah, exactly. We could observe here in Brazil that we have the flood in the south, Rio Grande do Sul, in the south state. After that, it seems that people who never work with this, because we, as I said, we're working with this, so it's natural for us to have more worries about it. But I could observe that people that never actually read anything about climate change started to, so that actually happening. Like, yes, people, it's already here. So it's something we must, as society, we must take care of it and understand that our change, it's necessary. We must change the way things are, and we must also make our politicians and governors to make what they need to do. It's to regulate and to make public policies that actually helps our work to happen and accelerate this, right, Charlotte?
Yeah.
The Energy and Knowledge Minute starts now. Hello, listener. Today's topic is co-digestion. As the name suggests, co-digestion means to digest 2 or more types of organic matter together in a biodigester. And for biogas production, this technique comes with some big advantages. It improves biogas quality and production efficiency. That's right, mixing different substrates helps balance nutrients, improves organic degradation, and leads to more energy-rich biogas with higher methane content and lower concentrations in impurities like hydrogen sulfide. It makes operations more flexible. Using multiple substrates means a plant isn't stuck relying on just one raw material, so it can adjust based on what's available. Another advantage is greater system stability. A good mix of substrates helps maintain the right balance of nutrients, avoiding problems like excessive acidification or disruptions in microbial activity. When properly implemented, co-digestion helps make biogas projects more efficient and profitable. Want to learn more? Visit our website amplumbiogas.com.br. The Energy and Knowledge Minute was brought to you by Ultragas.
Are you planning to come for COP here in Brazil?
Yes, we will. In fact, will be in Brazil in March. The Climate and Clean Air Coalition is hosting its annual meeting I'll be back in March, and then back again in November for COP. And I think we will be hosting our second World Biogas Association Brazil Congress just before then as well, to save 2 trips. And I think we will be working between now and then to see how we can progress the development of a Brazil biogas roadmap as well, so that we can use the event to as a platform to bring stakeholders together and look at what further work is required for the remaining time, because it will need to be finished by the end of February next year.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. It is a huge opportunity, and there is so much enthusiasm in Brazil for biogas, and a lot of excellent work. I'd love to highlight the small scale facility that CI Biogas is operating on Itaipu, land, which is really a fantastic, innovative facility. We brought some stakeholders to it when we visited just before our first World Biogas Association Brazil Congress last year, and they were very excited about it because it was very innovative what's happening there, and a lot of learning that can come out of it to look at how we can get different products out of anaerobic digestion and biogas, and therefore increasing the value that's delivered out of these organic resources. So really good to see that. You've of course got the Mulheres do Biogás, which is a wonderful, huge network of women in biogas, and we know that having more women, greater diversity of people in decision-making organizations improves performance significantly. And we spent quite a lot of today talking about the fact that we've got to just really perform so much better, that it's just so important that we have this diversity so that we can improve our the decisions that we take, the performance of our companies to meet these horrendous deadlines that we have to meet if we're to survive. So it's great that we've got such a wonderful group in Brazil.
Yeah, it's nice, and I get really happy to know that you actually recognize this work, and appreciate that. Thanks a lot. Really good. I would like also to share with our listeners and suggest another episode that just came into my mind. It's an episode with Alessandro Sanchez Pereira, where we talked about the IPCC work, the UN work for this, all these studies about the climate change. That also we could talk a little bit more just about these themes, such as I'm talking here with Charlotte. So we are going to give you the link in the description, so then you can also reach and hear that episode. Charlotte, we are now, unfortunately, the time is coming to the end. But before we say goodbye, I'd love to hear a final message from you. You gave us here excellent insights and then really good subjects for us to think about and reflect about. So if you can, please share also, besides talking and giving us this final message, if you have any special recommendations for our listeners. It could be a book, a movie, or a podcast, or even event. Anything that has inspired you lately?
Well, I feel it's appropriate, actually, given that you do have such a wonderful group of women in biogas in Brazil, to highlight a book that I think is... I was astonished by what I read from it, but it's called Invisible Women. And the author is Caroline Criado Perez. And it's really highlighting how so much data is collected without separating female data and male data, and that we are therefore failing to understand and making wrong decisions, even to the extent that people are being killed because we're not collecting the right data and we're not understanding the value that women contribute. So we're in an existential situation, an existential crisis. So this is a really good book to read. It's quite sobering to understand, at the very least, how the importance of women and how much more could be delivered were we to fully understand the value that they contribute and collect data appropriately.
Wow. Thank you very much. What an important recommendation. We'll give the link where our listeners can find it. And great. It's going to be in my top list here too.
Great.
Okay. Charlotte, well, once again, I want to thank you for being here with us. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. We truly admire your work and your efforts to the biogas sector. It was a pleasure to talk to you and learn a lot from your insights. Our listeners also could enjoy all our conversation here.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure being with you, and I'm very much looking forward to hopefully being with you in person in March, or if not in November. But thank you very much indeed for the invitation to be with you.
That was our pleasure. Thanks a lot. And to you, our listener, thank you so much for tuning in. I would appreciate to hear your feedback and questions about this episode, as well as your suggestions for topics and professionals to feature. Our email is contato@amplumbiogas.com.br. We also thank Ultragas for supporting this episode and for joining forces to bring quality knowledge to even more people. This episode was produced by Amplum Biogás, a company offering courses and consultancy services for the biogas and biomethane market. Learn more about our work at amplumbiogas.com.br and on social media, just search for @Amplum Biogás. Remember to leave a like on this episode and recommend it to your friends who may be interested in the topic. Let us know if you'd like to hear more episodes in English. A big hug from the entire Amplum team.